Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Rabbi.
We're learning Mishnah Kesubos, Parakeh, chapter 5, Mishnah Aleph, Mishnah 1. All right. Afal pi sha'amru, even though the sages said, Besula goiva masayim, that when one marries a virgin, she collects 200 zuz for her ksuba, va'almana mana, and if you marry a woman who is a widow, meaning she was previously married, the ksuba money is 100. And again, these are monies that she has a right to collect after his death from his estate, or if he divorces her from him. So even though these are the amounts that the sages set for a psula, if for marrying a virgin is 200 zuz she gets, for marrying a woman previously married, she gets 100. Imratza lahaisif, if he wants to add more, he wants to increase the amount. Afilo mea mana, even 100 mana. Now a mana is 100 zuz. So 100 mana is 1,000 zuz. Even he wants to go that, even that's how much he wants to increase the ksuba payment. Yosef, he can do so. And the commentaries explain, the Bartuner explains, we don't say that people shouldn't do that in order not to embarrass people who can't do that, who can't afford to do that. Nonetheless, a person still has permission to do that. Now, this Armela Niskarsha, if she becomes widowed or divorced, Bein Mina Erisin, Bein Mina Nesuin, whether it was from Erisin or from the Suin, whether it happened before she went to the chuppah or after she went to the chuppah. Goyves HaKol, she has a right to collect everything. She collects everything. Okay? Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah Omer, Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah says, Mina Nesuin, if she was divorced or widowed from Nisuin, meaning it was after the chuppah, Goyves HaKol, she collects everything. Mina Erisin, but if it ended at the point of Erisin, they were married, but the marriage wasn't completed with chuppah, then we say, Besula Goiva Masayim Vamanamana. Then no matter how much he promised her in the ksuba, if she's a virgin, she will collect 200 zuz. If she's a widow, she'll collect 100 zuz. Because we say that a person only writes this additional money towards the ksuba if at the end he landed up bringing her in to his house, meaning he completed the marriage, he did chuppah. That is what when he makes this additional amounts, that's what he's doing it for. He's doing it for coming to the point of completing the marriage. But if they never really completed the marriage, he never brought her to his home, he never completed the marriage, he could never live with her, so then all she gets is the minimum amount that the sages said goes to a woman for her ksuba. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Rabbi Yehuda says, Imratza, if a person wants, and his bride agrees, Kaisla Besula Shtar Shal Masayim, he can write for a virgin that he's marrying a document, meaning a ksuba, that promises her 200 zuz, the standard. Vehi Kaisebes, and then she can write his kabat m'chamana, I received from you a mana. Meaning, what they're going to do here is, according to Rabbi Yehuda, if there's an agreement between the husband and the wife, he could actually write her ksuba for 200, and then she writes him a partial receipt, even though she never got it. Because by doing so, she is saying she forgoes the amount. She agrees. He's telling her, we can get married, but I'm not paying 200 zuz. So he can't just write a ksuba that says 100 zuz. That he can't do. The ksuba has to be 200 zuz. That is how the Chacham and the sages, it said a ksuba has to be written, has to be done. That's what has to be done. You've got to start off with an obligation of 200. But she can then go write you a receipt, a partial receipt, saying, I've already collected 100, even though she didn't, as a means of forgoing 100 zuz of the 200 she's supposed to get. That's what it means. So Imratza, if he wants and she wants, Kaisev lebesula shtar shal masayim, he can write for a virgin a document of 200. Vehi Kaiseves, and she writes, his kabalti b'mechamana, I received 100 from you, as if to say she was already partially paid. It's a means of forgoing 100. Ula almana mana, And if, let's say, he's marrying a widow, a woman who's already married previously, he can write her ksuba of 100 zuz. He Kesubos, and she writes, his kabalti memecha chamishim zuz. I receive from you 50 zuz. Okay? So that is what Rabbi Yehuda says. Now again, it has to be that, I'm just going to read here from the notes. Even if a bride agrees to receive less than the standard amount, her husband must first write a proper ksuba contract for the full amount, since that is what the sages decreed. That's what he's got to do. If she wants to go ahead afterwards and write a document by which he says she forgoes half of it, that she can do after that. That is Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. Rabbi Meir Omer. Rabbi Meir says, anybody who gives less than 200 to a psula or 100 to an almana, harei bilas nus. This is considered a forbidden marriage. It's considered that they are marrying, that they are living together without marriage. Bilas nus here doesn't mean that it's a marriage with someone that's forbidden to marry, but it means that it's like they're not married. If you make up this kind of a deal that you're not going to have to pay her 200 ziz, then your marriage is like your marriage is as if it's invalid. That Rebbe Meir says that's not, you can't do that. If you do that, it's considered like your marriage isn't a marriage and living together without marriage. Monkey business. Now, let's read here what the notes explain here in Rebbe Meir's opinion exactly. It sounds like Rebbe Meir's opinion is basically like, no, you can't do this. Even though she agreed and she wrote in a document, Rebbe Meir says he can't do it. It's got to be that she's going to go ahead and receive 200 at the end of the day. That's what it has to be. Otherwise, it's like it's like living together without marriage. So the notes here, they explain the following. Now, this is important to keep in mind because it's really something that it doesn't say it in the Mishna, and it's an important concept. According to Rebbe Meir, the minimum ksuba payment is a biblical obligation. Step number 1. The minimum amount of 200 to a virgin or 100 to a widow or divorcee, that is a Torah obligation. Therefore, any agreement to reduce the amount is null and void. Any kind of agreement to say, no, we're not doing what the Torah said, it can't work because it is impossible to override a law of the Torah. And this concept is called, this principle is called Masna Amasha Kasav B'Torah T'noi Batal. If one makes a condition, a stipulation that runs against what is written in the Torah, his condition is nothing. If he makes some kind of condition, in 30 days if I come back, whatever, that's the laws of a condition. But if here the whole point is basically to say we're not doing what the Torah said to do, you can't do that. The husband is thus obligated to pay the full amount regardless of their agreement to the contrary. Okay, he's got to pay what the minimum amount. Nevertheless, since the wife does not think that she will receive the full amount, their marriage is considered improper. And any cohabitation between them is like the cohabitation of an unmarried couple. So now the point is like this. If Rebbe Meir really holds that he can't do this, meaning that they can't do this, even after they make up this whole thing, it can't be done, she's going to get the money, then what's the problem? She's going to get the money at the end. So why is Rebbe Meir calling this Be'ilas Nus? He's calling this an improper marriage. What's the issue? She's going to get her money. The answer is that she doesn't realize that. She's not necessarily knowledgeable enough to know that. So she thinks that she's getting married in a way that she's going to get less than the minimum amount of ksuba. If that's how you get married to this woman, making her think she's getting less, that marriage is considered like it's not a marriage, and and any cohabitation is like a cohabitation outside of marriage. So even though at the end of the day, she's going to get her money. That's not the question. She's going to get her money. But since she thinks that she's not, she agreed to it, but she thinks she's not, that is inappropriate according to Rebbe Meir. You cannot do that at all. If you do that, it is like living together without marriage. Okay, so now Chofetz Chaim was talking about yesterday how if you're going to tell someone rechilas, that maybe for constructive purpose, or trying to tell the person that don't go into a partnership with him, but at the end, you surmise that things may kind of get out of hand, and based on what you're saying, the person who hears this from you is going to do things that halacha doesn't allow him to do, meaning especially if it's after the partnership has already been formed. And now you tell them there's going to be problems. Now you can tell him there could be problems with this guy. So if he'll take it just as to protect himself and watch himself, okay. But if he's not going to do things against the other person that are wrong, especially if there are things that if two witnesses were to come and say this in a Bezdin, I'm sorry, especially if you would go to Bezdin, you'd only be one witness and you wouldn't be able to bring about what this guy is going to do because of what you told him about his partner, then for sure it's forbidden. But now he says like this, but if that's the point, according to this, meaning if the problem is that by you telling him the rechilas, he's going to do more than what could be done through a beis din because there's only one witness, but let's say the people coming to tell the partner about his other partner, it's not one person, it's two people. And it's two people who know about this person's problems of why he wouldn't be a good partner. Then already it could be permissible. Meaning if he'll now go do something outside of a beis din because of what you're telling him. Their intention of telling them the partner about this is to protect them from damage. And since it's two people that are testifying, whatever he does won't land up being more than what would have happened according to the letter of the law if they would have gone to beis din. Because if they surmise that this guy is going to do even more than what a beis din would have done if they would have gone to beis din, to the rabbinical court, to say about to testify about this partner. The name lehem shum yisrim mesaper yachid b'vadaser lasaper lehem lasaper. Then at the end of the day, based on what you're telling him, even if you're two witnesses, he's going to do more than what two witnesses could accomplish in beis din about this partner, you cannot tell the other person. Because at the end of the day, then you're causing him to go against the din. Even if your intention is to protect him, but if through what you're saying he will do more than what the law would allow, then you can't say it. Now, if you're only one person, there's clearly less that can be done because one witness can never do much in a beis din. However, even if you have two people telling him about his partner, that now if he does something that he'd be allowed to do based on the two witnesses coming to beis din, all right, that's a different story. If at the end he won't do more than what the law allows, then okay, then you can tell him. But if even after with two people, if they surmise he'll do even more than what we allowed to be done through two witnesses in a beis din and rabbinical court, then you can't tell him whatsoever. And at the end of the day, no matter how many people are telling this rechilas to the person, all the conditions that we said before that have to be met now. Have a wonderful day and a wonderful Shabbos.